You know, I had promised that I'm not going to monopolize and talk less, but I really have to add something to that. And I'm using that, I'm removing the time frame here because when you say you don't find changes happening immediately and people don't contribute meaningfully, if you look at, if you remove the time reference frame here and look at a very larger period of time, any change in society, anthropologically, has to start by first acknowledging the problem exists. So it starts with discussion, debate, discourse. That is when people become aware of it. Right now, a few of us may be aware of it, but each time, say, you use that hashtag, maybe somebody who wasn't aware of what was happening actually becomes aware of it. I experienced that 2 days ago when I added on to the dress like an Indian woman, otherwise you'll get PCOD thing that was going on, 2 days ago. So one is that discussion, debate, dialogue is the first step towards change. The second point is that any change in society takes 3 generations. The first generation becomes aware of it. The second generation actively does something about it. And the third generation reaps benefits. So it's always a long process. Lastly, when there is dialogue, discussion, debate on a particular subject, people's awareness increases, then over the course of time, one can look towards affirmative action, both from civil society and maybe legislative. Just to give you a small example, not too long ago in history, Raja Ram Mohan Roy was one of the social reformers who pushed the cause of trying to ban things that probably were not so unacceptable back in the day. And finally, it was the work of multiple social reformers that got sati banned. And if you were to look at it today, there's no reason for sati to have happened. But it took social reformers of that period, then followed by aggressive legislation. It took over 100 years before legislation was passed, that too by the British, to ban sati. But the life cycle of any change is unfortunately that, and what social media is doing is contributing towards chatter, yes, but is also making more and more people aware of what we're talking about. And I think that's really, really important, because if the change that we want to see is going to happen 3 generations from now, which is 45 years, 15, 15, 15, it has to start now. Sorry, I really am not going to talk anymore now.
No, but it's true what you said, because it's, I think with social media, it also is going to happen much quicker. Because, I mean, it connects so many people, puts them all together in one platform. I mean, of course, back in the day, you wrote a letter and it reached 6 months later, and then things started moving ahead. Anyway, we'll move on to you, yeah, at the back.
So you, this whole article about girls wearing men clothing and having some disease, right?
PCOD, polycystic ovary disorder.
Yeah, so when I read the whole thing, it was really something that I couldn't relate to. One of my friend shared it. I have studied with her in a class, so it was like, kahan se? You know, how did a principal say something like this, and who made that person a principal? I just want to understand, as a clothing brand, what do you think about that kind of comment? How do you look at that as an opportunity to kind of place yourself and say that, you know, there is nothing related to clothing, or how do you want to take it? This is to Sandeep.
Yeah. So for us, you know, when you look at the history of the brand, so what I said, you know, for us it's the 3 pillars: colors, knitwear, and social responsibility. So the social responsibility has been built in from day one. So when Mr. Benetton started this journey, when he was, you know, supplying garments from door to door, and when he started his journey 60 years back, somehow he felt that, you know, it's very important that as a brand we have to be socially responsible, and socially responsible in the right way. That was very, very clear. So when you look at the history of the brand, it's always about being socially responsible in the right way. And yes, there may be things which are happening in the society which, you know, which tend to give some speculation, or, you know, on which the brand can. So we be very clear. We want to be we want to work in a way, we want to conduct ourselves in a way that we are linked to the right causes in the right way. That's the, so we don't want to, you know, just, okay, this come up, so just grab this and, you know, look at selling your garments. No, never. Because there's a $2 billion euro organization globally, and it's always conducted itself in the right way. It's not looked at that, okay, this year was bad, so, you know, we're not getting the right revenue, so look at some topic and start talking about it. No, it's never been like that. So you will see our approach during last 60 years to be very, very consistent and right. We have never tried looking at anything which is, you know, like a small opportunity to grab and, you know, sell garments. No, never. So as a clothing a conglomerate or a giant, we are very, very clear, right sort of topics which So idea is to be act as enabler, to contribute towards society in the right way. Talk about right topics and contribute towards the evolution of society. As Gul said, three generations. So today when you look at why sati existed, it's a very basic question. So a lot of such things are there. So we have to be very, very clear, and we have to keep contributing. That's the way we're looking at it.
What is message for youngsters for Valentine's Day?
I think we can keep that question for closer to Valentine's Day. Yes, ma'am.
So, what do you all think about women in startup culture? I mean, how much ever we say, we've become modern, the mentality is still that, अरे लड़का है तो पक्का business करेगा, अच्छे से करेगा, he'll be able to handle all the pressure and everything. And when it comes to a woman, if I have my share of savings, it has to be a choice. Oh, should I spend on my fancy marriage or, the startup? I mean, why do you think as women, we always have to be we have to believe in ourselves, whereas men are supported so much. We have to be so self-assuring ki, theek hai, no, we'll be able to do it. So why is it that, we have to believe in ourselves, and there's no one who actually kind of does that for us, whereas when it comes to men, people are there, always supporting them and saying, they can do it. Just to everyone.
That is the basis of a patriarchal culture, right? So that's the whole point of when society or the culture is completely geared towards uplifting or celebrating men, and women sort of are supposed to support that journey, and they do not really have a journey for themselves, right? So one of the things is, like I said, women can't do it alone. You need to work with men. I'm not saying you need to be lifted up by men, but you need to work with men. Right? So, of course, it starts with being self-assured and having the confidence. And even if you don't have the confidence to kind of take that jump and take that leap of faith, but also, kind of enlisting support of whoever you can to be part of your journey, right? And sometimes you have to take a leap of faith and do it just by yourself, right? But wherever you can find that support and wherever you can demand it, you should. And that's how you beat the patriarchy.
Yeah, back there.
I think you can hear me.
Yes.
This question is for our actresses on the stage, please. My question is around constructs through mainstream feature films, and what the progress, if you have any insight. I know you can't speak on behalf of the entire film industry, but are there any insights, or is there progress moving towards more women getting behind the camera and actually directing? I think it's nice to be able to.
I think you're asking this question also to two most progressive sort
Yes,
of
that's precisely
actors
right.
in this
So
business.
beyond you both, what's the movement like?
So, I don't know what's going on, but I'm only getting films offered by female directors. I've had Zoya Akhtar, Shonali Bose. I'm working with Rakhi Sandhiliya right now on a film about maternity leave and women in the workforce. Who else have I worked with? My DOP was Anne Masawa on Marguerite Over the Straw. I don't know why, I'm attracting a lot of female directors, and we are less, for sure. There are fewer female directors. So, I mean, I also know that that's maybe because of the work I do, the things I choose, people kind of find that like they have something similar to say. I feel what's really missing still in our industry is in commercial cinema is that the writing is still very hero-based. Our writing is still based on uplifting the hero. If there's a heroine in the film, she is usually uplifting and supporting the hero. And it's still the exception to have a film like Piku or Queen, where the heroine is the uplifter of the movie. And I think, it would be great to see more writing where sometimes where the woman is the hero, but also sometimes where the woman is the villain, or the woman is playing, very ordinary characters where we, like a driver, like me and Gula are motorbikers, and everyone finds that like shocking, a girl on a bike, but why is that not a norm. So, you know, I think representing women in cinema outside of the stereotype of the virginal beauty or, you know, the vamp, sexy item girl. I mean, seeing women in just ordinary jobs doing what they do in that is really important, and I think that begins with writing. So it's important to look out for those kind of stories.